If you like this video, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell icon to get the latest updates.
All right, so I think post trading hours, I don't know how many of you could spend time, but hope you referred that Microsoft self-paced learning path of AZ900. Okay, so let us jump into the course introduction. So welcome to DP 900, that is Microsoft Azure Data Fundamentals, and this is your instructor, Suketu Naik. Course format of this DP 900 course is actually a one-day course, which is also having some hands-on exercises, and I'm going to cover actually 1, 2, 3, 4 modules, I can say, right? And every module having 2 or 3 lessons. So course agenda, where we will start with the fundamentals of data. We will also explore fundamentals of relational data in Azure. We will explore fundamentals of non-relational data in Azure. We will explore fundamentals of data analytics. So this course is a prerequisite of Azure Data Engineering course, which is DP 203. So those who are from the data background, those who are familiar with the database concept and everything, for them, DP 203 is fine. But those who are from the non-data professional backgrounds, for them, Microsoft strongly recommend they should go for this course, and then you should start always DP 203. So audience of this course could be anything, who want to learn the fundamentals of database concept in the cloud environment. They want they want to gain some basic skilling in the cloud data services, right? They want to build their foundational knowledge of cloud data services within Microsoft Azure. For them, this is the fantastic course. So same class hours, we have 8:30 to 1:30 p.m. right, and we will have 2 tea coffee breaks. And again, we need Microsoft Azure promo code redemption. So I will share this redemption process guide again. Yesterday we already shared with you, but today also I will share with you. Please make sure, please listen to me very carefully, everybody. When you are redeeming this promo code, use always private browser or incognito browser. All right. Always create new fresh Outlook, or Hotmail email account. Do not use any of your corporate email ID, office email ID, or any of your existing email ID. When you click on the redeem promo code button, after providing the promo code, double check your email ID, whether it is a new one or not. Because once you click on the promo code, when you redeem the promo code, that promo code will be automatically assigned to that email ID, and then you cannot detach it. Once you redeem the promo code, you have to provide the sign up detail, first name, last name, city, address, phone number, email, like that. And then automatically you will be redirected to Microsoft Azure portal with the Azure Active subscription worth $100 credit for 30 days. Clear? So again, I want to make sure, that is why I'm repeating this thing. I want to make sure you properly redeem your promo code. So Microsoft welcomes you to this course, and let us jump into module number 1. And in this module, I will talk about fundamentals of data. Let us discuss some core data concepts. See, data is actually collection of fact, like numbers, descriptions, observations, which is used to record the information. So data structures in which this data is organized often represent entities that are important to an organization, and like for example, it's a customer, product, sales orders, and so on. So each entity that are important to an organization that you can have, and each entity typically has one or more attributes, or I can say characteristics, like customer having name, address, phone number, and so on. So basically, you can classify like this: structured data, semi-structured data, unstructured data. Structured data is like this. Structured data is a data that adhere to a fixed schema. And I think everybody of you know this. All of the data has the same field or property. Most commonly the schema for your structured data entities is tabular only, like this. And your data will be represented in one or more table, that consists of rows, every table having row, a row actually representing that each instance of the data entity, column represent attribute of the entity. So you can see I have customer table, I have product table, right? Product entity, customer entity, I can say. So structured data is often stored in a database in which multiple tables can reference one another by using key values in a relational models. That is why it's called relational database. And then in upcoming module. Now, second is a semi-structured data. Semi-structured data look like this. The example. Semi-structured data is information that has some structure, but which allows for some variation between entity instances. Variation is allowed. For example, you have customers, they have email address. Some might have multiple email address. Some might have zero email address. So no problem. Semi-structured data allow it. So one common format for semi-structured data is very popular. I think everybody of you know JSON, JavaScript Object Notation, JSON, right? And you can see this highlighted, square red box on my PPT slide, which is giving you example of JSON data. This is JSON document that represent customer information. See, Joe, John's, street address, city, state, postal code, contact number, type, email, joe@litware.com, and samir@northwind.com, Samir Nadoy, city, Seattle, like that. So this is customer information. In each customer document include address and contact information, but the specific field vary between the customer. There is no problem. Third one is a unstructured. Third one is unstructured data. Not all the data is structured or even semi-structured, right? For example, let's say you have images, audio, video, document, binary file, text that might not have a specific structure. So this kind of data is unstructured data. Now, generally companies, organizations typically storing that all the data in a structured, semi-structured or unstructured format to record details of entities or specific event, let's say sales transactions or like that, or any other information like document, images, or any other format. Nowadays every organization having that all the different data. So this stored data can then be retrieved for analysis purpose, for reporting purpose. Everybody has to analyze data. Everybody want to report the data. They want to do some big data analytics on top of that. They want some business insight out of the data. So there are two broad categories: file, database. File store, database store. So the ability to store your data in the files is a core element of any computing system. File can be stored in local file system or in your HDD hard disk drive of your personal computer, or you can have it USB drive, any removable media. But in many companies, many enterprises, many organizations, important data files are stored centrally in some kind of share file storage system. Yesterday, I covered this network file share. Which service was that? Which service in Azure providing you network file share? Could you answer, anybody of you, please?
Data box.
Azure portal.
Is it Azure Data Box?
Oh, which service we covered yesterday?
Infrastructure as a service.
No. Which it is not infrastructure as a service, is not a service. It is a type actually. I'm talking about a service in Microsoft Azure having service. Microsoft Azure having how many services? Which are the services they have? App service, database, SQL DB, storage, VNet, load balancer, right? Cosmos DB, right? Virtual machine, Azure functions. These are all services, right?
Yeah.
So which service I covered yesterday that allow you to store your data in a network file
Blob
share?
storage. Blob storage.
No. Blob storage is for object data. It is for images, video file, audio file, database backup files, binary data, text data. I'm talking about
ARM,
network file share. Network file share.
ARM,
No. ARM is actually a template. It is not a service. ARM is a template. It's a JSON template. I'm talking about service.
Cosmos DB is the
What?
unstructured database for Azure Cosmos DB.
I am little disappointed. But anyway,
So no SQL, I guess.
File storage.
file storage.
Azure file storage.
Exactly. File storage. Who is this?
Rakesh.
Rakesh. Appreciated, Thank you so much. Appreciated. That file storage. Azure storage having service called blob, file, table, queue, where file share you can map with your on-premises Windows or Linux or Mac OS machine as a Z drive or network drive, right? That is your network file share service. File storage. Absolutely right, Rakesh. Appreciate it. Anyway, so what I was talking, generally enterprises are storing that all data centrally in some kind of share file storage system. Share file storage system, which I already told you in my explanations. Share file storage system. Storage, Azure storage. Now, that central storage location is hosted in the cloud, right? Which will help you, which will enable you to cost-effective, secure, and reliable storage for your large volume of data. So in Azure storage, you can create file share 1, file share 2, file share 3, file share 4. Each file share can be up to 5 terabyte in size, 5 TB. So the specific file format which is used to store your data depends on the different factor. The type of data being stored, the application and service that will need to read, write, or process the data, or the need for the data file to be readable by human or optimized for efficient storage and for processing. So look at this example on my left side of PPT. Here. This is delimited text. Delimited. Data is stored in a plain text format with a specified field delimiter or row terminator. This is called field terminator and row terminator like this. The most common format for delimited data is which? CSV file. You know CSV file? CSV file, you know, right, everybody? Right?
Yes.
So in CSV file, CSV file, your field are separated by comma, like this, like this. The CSV file, which is very popular. Like that, we have TSV file also. Correct, na? Second, very important in data engineering, JSON. Very popular. JSON is a ubiquitous format, I can say, which hierarchical document. It is hierarchical document schema. Hierarchical. That is used to define your data entities or object that has multiple attributes. And each attribute might be an object or a collection of objects. That is actually making JSON flexible format. That is good for both structured and semi-structured data. This is based for both structured and semi-structured data. Third, which is very popular in 1990s era, 95, 97, 98, 2000, 2004, 5, XML was popular, right? XML is a human readable data format that was popular in 1990s and 2000s, as I told you. It is largely been superseded by the less verbose JSON format actually. But there are still some systems, you know, that use XML. Still, at present, people using XML to represent data. And XML is actually using this kind of tag, everything, which is very popular. And I can say using XML, you can actually define your elements and attributes and everything. Another, which I covered yesterday, blob storage. What I covered yesterday, blob, binary large object data. Blob storage I covered now yesterday, right? It will, all the files will be stored as a binary data. All file will be like this, binary data. 111100001010 like that. It is not in the human readable format, you know. So the byte of binary data are mapped to printable character. Some file format, however, particularly for unstructured data, and they can store the data as a row binary. That must be interpreted by the applications and rendered. So what are the common types of data which you can store here in the binary? Like images, JPG images, PNG images, BMP images, any images, video file, audio file, application specific documents. That all you can store as an object, binary large object. So data engineers, those who are working in data lake, okay, a data professional like you, they often refer to this data file as a blobs, binary large object. So you have massive amount of data which is coming from variety of sources, variety, volume, velocity, you know, terabyte, exabyte of data you put into this data lake, and then you can transform the data, right? You can perform some big data compute on top of that, depend on your big data architecture or big data need. Other very popular optimized file formats are available. Very popular optimized file format that every data engineer should know about this. Everybody should know about this. If you want to become certified as a data engineer, you should know about this. See, while human readable format for structured and semi-structured data can be useful, so they are typically not optimized for the storage space or for processing purpose. They are not optimized. But over the time, what happened? Some specialized file format that enable compression, indexing, and efficient storage, I can say. And of course, processing that have been developed. And these are highlighted in the red box. These are that efficient, I can say, specialized file format. Number one is Avro. Avro is actually row-based format. Avro is row-based format. It was created by Apache. Apache Avro. The correct name is what? Apache Avro. Each record contain header. that will describe the structure of the data in the record. And this header is stored as a JSON. Header will be stored as a JSON, and the data is stored as a binary information. So any application can use this information in the header. They can parse the binary data and they will extract that field it contains. So data engineers are using Avro. It is a good format for compressing the data, for optimizing the storage, and network bandwidth optimization is also there. So wherever you have limited storage, limited network bandwidth, you can go for Apache Avro. Clear? Second one, very popular, Parquet. Parquet is what? Parquet is columnar data format. What is that? Columnar data format. And who created this? Cloudera and Twitter. Right? Parquet created by Cloudera and Twitter. Parquet file contain row cross. Data for each column is stored together in the same row group. Data in the each column is stored together in the same row group. And each row group contain one or more chunks of the data. Parquet file is also having some metadata, that describe the set of row found in the each chunk. And any application can use this metadata to quickly locate your correct chunk. Where is your data? It will locate your correct chunk for a given set of row. And you can retrieve that particular data in a specified column for this row. So Parquet people are using because it has a specialized in storing and processing nested data type efficiently. It supports very efficient compression and encoding schemes. That is why it is popular. And ORC is also third one. ORC, optimize row columnar format. It will organize your data into column rather than row. And who implemented ORC? Hortonworks. You know Hortonworks? So Hortonworks actually developed this for optimizing read and write operation in Apache High. That is also very popular. So those who want to do statistical information aggregation, everything, count, sum, max, mean, and so on for each column, this is best. ORC is best. Second, apart from the file, now coming to right side of the diagram, relational database. I think everybody know relational database, right? Look at this. You will get information. The relational database are commonly used to store and query your structured data. Data is stored in a table that represents some entity like customer, product, sales order, blah, blah, blah. And every entity, instance of the entity is assigned primary key, right? Primary key that will uniquely identify your record. And this key is used to reference the entity instance in another table also. For example, customer's primary key can be referenced in a sales order. Maybe this customer number one, what they order? They order banana, they order apple, or whatever. That you can relate, right? Second, we have non-relational. Non-relational database is key value, document, column family, graph. These are all non-relational. Non-relational database are data management system that don't apply relational schema on the data. Don't apply relational schema to the data. That is why it is non-relational. And non-relational database are often referred as a NoSQL database, right? But even though they are NoSQL, they support a variant of SQL language. They support structured query language. That is the beauty. So generally, these are the four are the popular non-relational database: key value database, document database, column family database, graph database. Key value database in which each record consists of a unique key and associated value, which can be in any format. And document database, which are a specific form of key value database in which your value is in a JSON document. Column family will store your data in the tabular data in the comprising rows and column. But you can divide the column into group known as column family. So that is also very popular. Columnar family database. And the last one is which is very popular in the modern cloud application, graph database, which is storing your information like node and edges. right? It will store entities as a node which is linking to define relationship between the edges like this. It is relationship between the edges. This is called graph database. You can write some graph traversal queries or graph retrieval queries. These are all non-relational. So transactional data processing system is what most people consider primary function of business computing. And transactional system actually record your transaction that will encapsulate specific event that an organization want to track. And a transaction could be financial, like movement of money between the account in the banking system, for example. Somebody, X person is paying money to Y person. This is called transaction. It might be a part of some retail system or tracking payment for the good or services for the customers, right? So you can think of a transaction, as a small discrete unit of work. And your transaction system are often high volume. Sometimes they're handling many millions of transactions singly. It's a very high volume. And data being processed has to be accessed very quickly, right? And that is called online transactional processing, OLTP. It is a transaction system name actually, which is a reference, OLTP, right? So OLTP is actually typically a live system in which your data storage is optimized for both read and write operations in order to support transactional workload, right? And transactions support ACID semantics, I can say, ACID property, I can say, ACID, atomicity, consistency, isolation, durability. Atomicity means each transaction is treated as a single unit of work, which either succeed completely or fail completely. Consistency means it should be consistent. Transaction can only take the data in database from one valid state to another. It should be consistent. For example, you have that debit credit kind of example, So complete state of the transaction must reflect the transfer of your fund. Let's say one party is transferring fund to another party from one account to the another account. So if one party's amount is deducted, then it should be credited in another party, right? Third property is isolation. One current transaction cannot interfere with one another and must result in consistent database state. For example, let's say one person is sending money to another person and transfer fund is going on. It is in the process. And another transaction that check the balance of that account. There is another transaction happening same time. It is checking the balance of this account. So it must return consistent result. Because balance checking transaction cannot retrieve value for one account that reflect the balance before the transfer and the value for another account that reflect the balance after the transfer. It is wrong, right? So that property is called isolation. Fourth one is the durability. When your transaction has been committed, it will remain committed. Right? The data changes are persisted in the database. That is called durability. Now, as a data engineering point of view, let us talk about analytical data workload. Analytical workload are typically read-only systems that store vast volume of historical data or business metrics and everything. Every company having this data. Analytics can be based on snapshot of the data at a given point in time or series of snapshot maybe. Let's say some company want reports, monthly sale, monthly revenue, quarterly sale, revenue, blah, blah, blah. This is a great example of analytical information, right? And if you are talking about any modern cloud data warehouse, data lake is very common in modern cloud data warehouse scenario. When you have a large volume of non-relational data, you have to first collect it and then you have to analyze it. Make sense, everybody? That is data lake. Data files may be stored in the central data lake for analysis. Data is coming from any sources, any volume, any variety. After that, actually, data warehouse are an established way to store your data in a relational schema. And relational schema, why relational schema? Why relational schema? Because that is optimized for read operations. Right? So you can query it to support your reporting and data visualizations. And data warehouse schema may require some denormalization of the data in an OLTP data source. Another, then you have OLAP model, online analytical processing. Online analytical processing is an aggregated type of data storage that is optimized for analytical workload, and data is imported, aggregated so that aggregations of numeric fact can be pre-calculated across dimensions. And the aggregation will typically occur at different level, which is allowing you to drill down or up. For example, let's say you want to find total sales by region or total sales by city or by individual address. So you can use this. Because OLAP data is aggregated periodically. Once that aggregation has been performed, query which need the summaries that it contains are very fast. Very fast. And all this data you can query to produce a report and dashboards. So generally, your company also having, I don't know, but your company also may have data scientist, data analyst, business user, right? Data scientist might work directly with the data files in data lake. They will explore the data, they will model the data. Data analyst might query table directly in the data warehouse. They produce complex report visualizations. Business user, they consume this all pre-aggregated data in your analytical model, in the form of report or dashboard. So that is there. Now I have knowledge check for everybody. Would you answer the question number 1, please? Reply in chat window, no problem.
Rows and columns.
Row and column.
Rows and columns.
Very good. Very good. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. What is the answer of second? Yeah, Radha, Pawan, you're right. Absolutely right.
Audio
Audio and video files.
Okay. Very good.
The second one,
First
relational database optimized for read operations.
What everybody says? Data warehouse.
It's all 3.
No, only one answer you have to select, which is more suitable, more relevant. Data warehouse is actually a relational database optimized for read operations. All right, very good. Thank you. Now let us talk about different roles. Data professional role. See, generally, there are wide variety of roles available, which is involving in managing, controlling, using data, some labels, some roles. They are all business oriented, some involving more engineering, some focusing on research, some are hybrid role. They are combining different aspects of the data management. So your company can define your role differently, and they will give them different name. Let's say database administrator. Database administrators are actually responsible for the design, implementation, maintenance, and operational aspect of on-premises and cloud-based database system. They are responsible for the overall availability and consistent performance and optimizations of database. And they work with the stakeholder to implement the policy, tool, processes for the backup, recovery plan. They recover from the natural disaster, human-made error. This is all responsibility for managing, securing your data in the database. And they also grant, permissions, privilege over the data. They will grant or deny access to the users, accordingly. Second one is a data engineer, which we are going to cover in upcoming courses. Data engineer is actually collaborating with stakeholder to design and implement data related workload, including data ingestion pipeline, cleaning the data, transformation activities, data store for analytical workload. They use wide range of data platform technologies, including relational and non-relational databases, file store and data streams. They are also responsible for ensuring that the privacy of data is maintained within the cloud and it is spanning from on-premises to the cloud data stores. And they own the management and monitoring of the data pipeline to ensure that data load perform as expected. So this is what data engineer is doing, and data analyst is actually enabling your businesses to maximize the value of the data asset. They are responsible for exploring data to identify trend and relationships, and designing and building analytical model. And it is enabling advanced analytics capabilities through your report and visualizations. So data analyst processes raw data into relevant insight based on your identified business requirement to deliver relevant insight. That is what analysts are doing, right? So now what Microsoft's cloud services for the data? This is very high level slide, very high level. Azure SQL, we have family of SQL Server based on the relational database system. We have entire family. Give me a minute. Portal.azure.com. This is my Microsoft Azure portal. And I want to show you the family of SQL database. This is your Azure SQL database. Or it is a managed service, actually. It is managed service. So this is how you can create your Azure SQL database. And here you can actually define your compute and storage, your pricing type. And when you create this compute and storage, right, before that, you have to create actually logical server of SQL on cloud. There is no physical VM for you. It's a logical server for you, logical SQL server. And then you create your SQL database on top of that. So this is fully managed service, Azure SQL database. Second, you can also create virtual machine of SQL like this, virtual machine like this, see. You can create the VM with your SQL Server, right? VM of SQL Server, you can create different options and SQL Server virtual machine. See, so you can create virtual machine with a SQL Server. This is called infrastructure as a service. This is called infrastructure as a service, right? You can see more SQL Server images in the marketplace. You can type SQL Server like this. See. Okay. So this is infrastructure as a service. Now we have Azure database for open source also. We have Azure database for open source also. So when you create the resource, when you click on the database, we have Azure database for PostgreSQL, for MySQL, for MariaDB also is there. For the MariaDB also is there. I can give you the database category. Yeah, this is your database category. Right? Now, very popular service, which I want to introduce to you, Azure Cosmos DB. It is highly scalable, non-relational database system. It is highly scalable, non-relational database system. But this service having many cloud characteristics that I am going to cover in upcoming module. Many cloud characteristics. That is why this is fastest growing service of Microsoft Azure Cloud. And this one I covered yesterday, storage. And on top of your storage, when you enable hierarchical namespace, you can actually create Azure Data Lake Generation 2 storage for big data. But if you are using only blob storage, then it is a flat namespace. But when you deploy Azure storage and enable hierarchical namespace, you are deploying Azure Data Lake Storage Generation 2. Make sense? Right? Now, I'm talking about data engineering and analytics services from Microsoft. Very popular Azure Data Factory. Azure Data Factory is an Azure service that will enable you to define and schedule your data pipeline. You can orchestrate data pipeline to transfer and transform your data. You can integrate your pipeline with other Azure services, which is enabling you to ingest data from cloud data stores. It will process the data using cloud-based compute, and it will persist the result in another data stores. So Azure Data Factory is used by data engineers to build ETL solutions. To build ETL solutions. ETL means extract,
Transformation
then
and
transform, and then load. You're extracting the data from the variety of disparate data stores. You can load it, then you transform it, and after transforming, you can load it somewhere in the data warehouse, for example. So you can orchestrate this type of data engineering pipelines using Azure Data Factory. Very popular new analytical workspace from Microsoft, which is very popular, Synapse Analytics, that we are going to cover in upcoming course. Synapse having integrated end-to-end analytics. It has SQL pool, it has Apache Spark pool, it has Data Factory also integrated. That is called Synapse Pipeline. It has Azure Synapse Data Explorer, everything integrated. Even your formerly known as SQL Data Warehouse is also nowadays part of your Synapse. That is called dedicated SQL. Another very popular data engineering service, which is Azure Databricks. And this Azure Databricks is an Azure integrated version of popular Databricks platform. So Azure plus Databricks together they bring this service. It is very popular. Apache Spark based data processing platform, right? So using this Azure Databricks, it is combining your Apache Spark data processing platform with the SQL database semantics and integrated management interface to enable large scale data analytics. It is optimized version of Apache Spark, and it has you can use native notebook support. It has notebook, and then you can attach that notebook to the Databricks cluster, and then you can do big data analytics on top of that. You can even prep and train machine learning models in Azure Databricks. Another Azure HOD insight is that it is actually Azure service that provide you Azure hosted cluster for popular Apache open source for big data processing. Like Apache Spark cluster, Apache Hadoop cluster, Apache Kafka, Apache Storm, Apache HBase. These all cluster you can create in Azure HOD Insight. We have another service that we will cover in our upcoming course also, that is Stream Analytics. Is a real-time stream processing engine that is capturing stream of data from input. It will query some query to extract and manipulate some data from the input, and it will write that result to output for analysis or for further processing. So for real-time data processing, for speed layer of Lambda architecture, right? For what path of the Lambda architecture, where you can use this service called Azure Stream Analytics. Another, we have Azure Data Explorer. It is actually a service that offering you same high performance query of log and telemetry data. So data analyst can use this service to query and analyze data that include timestamp attribute. Generally, you know, data is coming from IoT devices or telemetry data. For that, you can use this service for real-time data analysis. Okay, Microsoft Purview, new name. It's popular nowadays. Microsoft Purview is providing a solution for enterprise-wide data governance and discoverability. It is for enterprise data governance, for data mapping, and for data discoverability. You can use this service to create map of your data. You can track your data lineage across multiple data sources and systems. So that you can find easily trustworthy data for analysis purpose, for reporting purpose. So nowadays, data engineers started using this Microsoft Purview to enforce some data governance, you know, and they ensure integrity of the data, you know, which is supporting your analytical workload. And Power BI, everybody knows it is platform for analytical data modeling and reporting. I have knowledge check for you.
First,
First one, backing up or restore.
First is backing up.
Very good. Gautam and Payal responded in the chat window. You're right. Tapasu, you're right. Okay.
second,
Thanks.
data engineering.
Okay. Okay. Very good. Very good.
Third
Fantastic.
one is Synapse Analytics.
Azure Synapse Analytics.
Very
Third
nice.
option.
Very nice. Which is by which you can implement a data pipeline. You can do SQL analytics. You can do Spark analytics. You can also having the Purview integrated, Data Explorer also integrated, Power BI also integrated in Synapse. Right. So that we will definitely going to cover in our upcoming courses. Very good.
Yes.
So
Yes, Suketu,
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt you.
no problem. No problem. Tell me, please. Tell me.
There is a one question regarding the Azure Data Factory.
Yeah.
So it is basically we can consider it as a ETL tool.
Yeah. It is like data
It's a
movement orchestration is actually a correct word. No?
Okay.
And
Yeah,
integration. Sorry, integration.
Yeah.
This
Instead
is
of saying ETL, we can say ELT, right?
ELT,
ADF more.
ETL, or ELTL also is nowadays very popular. For example, you have data in SAP, Oracle, IBM DB2, AWS Cloud, on-premises file server, on-premises SQL server, anywhere you can extract the data. All right, you can extract the data like this. Then you can again load the data in data lake. Let's say you have data lake here, right? So this is extract, this is again load. After that, you can transform the data. You can transform the data like this using Databricks, using Synapse, using HD inside clusters, right? Blah, 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 multiple options are available, right? Or Azure Data Factory, you're having data flow available, which is code-free transformation. And after you transform the data, you can again, let's say, load the data into some data warehouse, right? So that your BI user, your visualizations, Power BI users or developers, and they are all implement these live dashboards, and they can do this, take benefit of this actually. Or you can do some modeling on top of the data like Q, data analyst is use this data directly. So data factory will allow you to orchestrate this entire data engineering pipeline. I can say, data movement and integration. You can orchestrate this entire pipeline.
Okay. And
Right.
yeah, and so Ketu, there is a two services regarding the databases. One is Azure SQL and SQL database. What is the difference between them?
Azure SQL is actually, let me show you that. See, when you are creating here, when you are creating any resource, when you click on this particular database, when you go for this Azure SQL actually service, I'll show you this. So here you have option actually. It is wrapper actually. Maybe when you open the box, you will get Cadbury also, KitKat also, and you will get that Mango Bite also. So ultimately, it's a wrapper on top of you. What do you want? You want SQL database? Go here. You want VM? You go here. You want SQL managed instance? You go for here. So it is a wrapper on top of your existing service. It is a wrapper of on top of this, on top of this. It is a wrapper. Make sense? Gift box.
Okay.
So
Okay.
nothing,
There is no difference. Just
no.
okay.
I
Okay.
can package, I can package like roti, chapati, sabji, Punjabi sabji, veg sabji, everything in a package. What do you want? You take it. So nothing
What
technically nothing difference, nothing difference.
Okay. Okay.
Fantastic.
what
Right?
is telemetry data?
Huh?
Hi, Sukrit. What is telemetry data?
Sorry.
What is telemetry data? You mentioned in Azure Explorers, I think.
Your voice is completely cracking, but I can understand telemetry, right? Telemetry you're talking.
Yes, telemetry data.
Telemetry data can be a data which is Azure Monitor using. Yesterday I told you, Azure Monitor can use the telemetry data. Monitor, like your logs, like your metrics, like your traces. These are all called telemetry data. Or the data which is coming from variety of devices, IoT devices. Let's say you have sensor, or Raspberry Pi 3 or any Intel Galileo, any devices which is collecting this data in a field gateway, and this field gateway is sending data to Azure. Let's say Azure having IoT hub or Azure having event hub. So which is actually ingesting this data, which is also called telemetry data. Okay, so your logs, your metrics, your traces. For example, you have deployed some applications. That application also having performance counters. The application having a request rate, then response rate. Then it has a page view, session count. These are all data which is Azure Monitor is collecting. That is also called telemetry. Make sense? Which is having telemetry data always having timestamp. It is timestamp data. All right, Rakesh?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, timestamp data.
Yeah.
Let us talk
Yeah.
about relational data concept. Relational table is actually, you can model collections of entities from real world as a table. An entity can be anything for which you want to record information. Typically, important object and event. For example, let's say I have a retail system. In the retail system, you might create table for customer, for product, for orders, and line items within the order, right? So you can see this type of table which is in my PPT. Now table contain row. and each row represents a single instance of the entity. Correct. So every table consists row and column, and all row have the same column. Every row having same column. Each column is assigned particular data type as well. All right. Now, this term called normalization. Normalization is actually a term which is used by database professionals for a schema design. That is called schema design process. That will minimize your data duplication. What it will do? It will minimize data duplication. And it will enforce data integrity. So what it will do? For example, there are many complex rules, that actually define the process of refactoring data into various level or various form of normalization, I can say. So a simple definition for practical purpose is what you have to separate each entity into its own table and separate each discrete attribute into its own column and uniquely identify each entity instance or row using primary key and use always foreign key column to link these related entities. So, for example, you have this table. This table having all information: order number, order date, cost, customer, product, quantity, blah blah blah, everything. So whenever same customer is placing the 10 item or 20 items order, all the information is repeating, all this information repeating, which is not required. It is wasting your storage. It is duplication of the data. And when you have a duplication of data, you have more complexity. So better you do normalization here, where customer data is not changing frequently, is as it is only, right? Product also not changing frequently. Order keep growing. And this is the relationship between this table. Make sense? Yes or no? That is normalization. Now SQL. SQL is what? Structure query language. This is used to communicate with relational database. And it is a standard language for relational database management system. PL SQL, T SQL. You're familiar with, right? T SQL, PL SQL, PG SQL. U SQL is also nowadays very popular. So generally, SQL statements are used to perform tasks like update your data in a database or retrieve data from the database. And there are some common relational database management systems are there. They use SQL, which include Microsoft SQL Server, MySQL, PostgreSQL, MariaDB, Oracle. So you can actually use this SQL statement like insert, select, insert, update, delete, create, drop to accomplish almost everything that you need to do with the database. Right? And although this SQL statement are part of the SQL standard, many database management systems also have their own additional proprietary extension to handle these all specifics of the database management system. So which are the popular dialect of SQL? T SQL. T SQL means transact SQL. This is also very popular. PL SQL is also very popular. I don't know if you heard that or not. Those who are using Oracle, they know this. PG SQL is also popular for PostgreSQL. So this is popular. Right? Now, the user who plan to work specifically with single database system should learn the SQL dialect or SQL platform. The SQL statement is actually grouped into three I can say type DDL, DCL, DML. You can use actually data definition language DDL statement to create, to modify and remove table. Like create query, alter query, drop query, rename query. That is called DDL. Make sense? DCL is a data control language. Database administrators generally use this DCL statement to manage access of the object, like grant, deny, revoke, right? And one more is called DML. DML is your data manipulation language. Select query, insert query, update query, delete query. Make sense? Now, which are the other common database object? View. What is view? View is virtual table based on your result of select query. So when you execute select query, you create a view. It is a virtual table, and you can think of the view as a window on specific rows in one or more underlying table. Second, very important is store procedure. You know store procedure? Store procedure defines SQL statement that can be run on command. On command. Now, store procedure are used to encapsulate your programmatic logic in the database for actions that applications need to perform when working with the data. So this is very simple example of store procedure. See here, you are renaming the product. This is a product ID, your new name, right? And then you are going to update the product and you will set these two new values, right? And you will execute this store procedure. So your older name is range. Now it becomes panel. This is the new value updated for ID 201. Just for example. And what is index? Index actually help you to search for data in a table. Searching for the data, like in our engineering books, our graduation books having indexes. So you can think of an index over a table like an index at the back of the book, like book index contains a sorted set of references. Same thing here. So when you create the index in the database, you specify column from the table, and the index will contain a copy of that particular data in a sorted order. With the pointers to the corresponding rows in the table actually. And when the user run a query that specifies this column in the where clause, the database management system can use this index to fetch the data more quickly than if it had to scan through the entire table row by row. No need to scan entire table row by row. The index will help you. Now, give me the answer, everybody. Question number 1, reply in the chat window if possible, so that everybody can try actually. Give me a minute. I'm just 1 minute. I'll be right back. Be right. Okay, so The answer of question number 1 is
Second.
very nice. Very nice. Fantastic. 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 Absolutely right. Gavali, Yogesh, and then Pavani, Kadimi, Payal, Sudhakar, Rajshekar, everybody, Gautam, Radha, Sudhakar, everybody. Thank you. Isha. Okay. Now, let us talk about family of SQL database, family of SQL server based cloud database service. Right? The first one is infrastructure as a service. So when you go for Azure SQL family, you will get SQL Server on Azure virtual machines also. You will get Azure SQL in a managed instance also. And you will get Azure SQL database, which is fully managed database management as a service. That also comes in a PaaS. See, virtual machine when it is running in Azure with installation of SQL Server. And the use of this virtual machine will, makes this option as an infrastructure as a service solution. Right? So where your virtualization of your hardware infrastructure, compute, storage, networking, that all taken care by Azure, and it is making a great option. This option is a great option when you want to lift and shift your migration, I can say, of existing on-premises SQL Server installation to the cloud. You can go for virtual machines in SQL Server. Same experience you will have, like you have on-premises SQL Server, on-premises private data center SQL Server. Make sense? Another, which is very popular, Azure SQL database fully managed service. Fully managed, highly scalable, managed database service. That is designed for the cloud actually. So this is actually designed for modern cloud applications. And in modern cloud applications, what happen? Same application is need RDBMS also, same application talking to object database also, NoSQL database also, document database also, graph database also, data lake also, everything. Where this is suitable. And this service actually include core database level capability of on-premises SQL Server, and it is a good option when you need to create a new application in the cloud. And another offering, Azure SQL having combination of IPaaS, infra PaaS, both combination. That is providing you near 100% compatibility with on-premises SQL Server. So Microsoft strongly recommend you are migrating on-premises SQL Server. You can also prefer Azure SQL managed instances because it includes core database level capability, and on-premise it is compatible for 100% compatible with the on-premises SQL Server instance, and it is abstracting the underlying hardware and operating system, completely abstraction. But the service include automated software update management, backup, and other management tasks, so that it will reduce administrative burden of supporting database server instances. So it is more benefited compared to infrastructure as a service and less benefited than fully managed Azure SQL database service. It is a combination of both. And this is great solution for migrating your on-premises database to the cloud. Now, let me show you actually this Azure SQL database managed platform as a service solution. I will create some DCS resource group, and I have DCS DB. You know what? For example, I have to create a logical SQL server as I told you. What is your logical SQL server name? TCS SQL server name, whatever, or SQL server 1, for example. The unique name you need, TCS SQL server .database.windows.net. Where you want East US, that is fine, right? And yeah, if you want to set Azure AD admin, you can use Azure AD admin, or you can use SQL authentication. You can specify server admin login. Let's say demo user. I want this SQL authentication like this, and I can just click on the OK button to create this logical SQL server like this, right? Now your logical SQL server ready. You want this for development purpose, or you want for the production, right? If you go for the development, you can configure, you can select your compute and storage which you need actually. So either you can go for virtual CPU cores, right? Or you can manually provision it. So serverless and manual provisioning, both options are available, right? Apart from that, we have DTU based pricing available. Database transaction unit, DTU. It is a unit from Microsoft Azure SQL DB. So you can actually select your DTU as per your requirement, as per your load on the SQL database, and Microsoft giving you DTU comparison options and DTU calculator as well. That is called database transaction unit. Visible? And database transaction unit is a combination of all this: CPU, memory, read, write rate, everything. Combination of all these things. It's a unit from Microsoft that is called DTU. So you can select accordingly. You can select the size in GB also accordingly. So basic, standard, premium, all DTU operations are available, and maximum up to 4 TB data maximum size is possible. See? Correct? So accordingly, you can select your DTU, which is required, and then you can actually click on the next button, right? I can just click on the next button. I don't want to enable right now any Microsoft Defender for security, etc. Right now, not required. You want any sample database? Yes, I have sample database. Right. So yes, I want sample database. And then you can simply review and create this. There is some validation issue. Oh my God, some resource group is not created. Okay. I can create the resource group, no worries. I have sample database, and now I will try to create this SQL database. Let me try to create this. It's a fully managed service. Like this deployment is going on. I have other managed solutions for common open source RDBMS. Generally cloud solutions architects are also preferring database for MySQL, MariaDB, PostgreSQL. We have managed services in Microsoft Azure Cloud. Correct? For PHP applications, if you want Stack, Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP application, you need MySQL. We have that database also. For example, you want to implement MariaDB Community Edition database management system. It also you can run on Azure. That is also compatible with Oracle database. You want PostgreSQL. That is Microsoft Cloud-based Postgre Community Edition database engine. For hybrid relational and for object storage, you can go for that option also. PostgreSQL also available. So MySQL is very popular among all of these, which is high available. High availability is built in Azure MySQL. We have predictable performance also. You can easily scale also. You can secure your data also, both in the rest and in motion also. And this Azure database for MySQL also having automatic backup and point in time restore also for last 35 days. And you can have enterprise level security and compliance with Azure. So that is the benefit. And Postgre is also again popular. PostgreSQL is actually a hybrid relational object database. That means you can store data in relational table also. And PostgreSQL also enable you to store custom data type with their own non-relational properties as well. That is also which is available in Microsoft Azure Cloud. These are the services. Now, when you open your TCS resource group, you will get your logical SQL server and you will get your SQL database visible. When you click on the SQL database, this is your TCS DB. It is in this particular server and all the connection strings are available. Visible? ADO.NET connection string available, JDBC, ODBC, PHP, Go. Look at this. Right? Okay. And every Azure Cosmos DB having integrated query editor as well. Right? You can just try to sign in, but I think it will not allow me because I have to configure firewall. Yeah, I have to configure firewall. So I am looking for set server firewall button. And here I want to actually add firewall rule to allow all the client. I'm adding this and I just want to save this firewall rule. So when you add the firewall rule from here, now it will allow me to open my SQL database and open your query editor. Or even you can use your local select star from PPA dot product, right? And you can execute this query. Is there any issue in the format? Yeah, here it is. I cannot move this. Yeah, here is your data. See, product ID, name, product number, color, standard costing, blah blah blah. This all data. Then you can directly query here. You can save the query. You can export the data from here. See, JSON, CSV, XML, right? So you can use this integrated editor as well, query editor also, or you can use SSMS. You know SSMS? Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio in your local laptop. You can connect to this SQL server and you can use your SSMS with Azure SQL DB. Clear? Synapse integration is there, Power BI integration is there, Power Apps integration is also there, connection strings you will get, compute and storage also you can change from here. If you want to change the pricing tier, if you want to change the the basic to standard, standard to premium DTU, right? As per the usage is increasing, you want to scale out, can definitely go for the scalability options. See, on the fly, without changing your application, without changing anything, on the fly. And beauty of this Azure SQL DB is what you can enable auditing, automatic auditing available, right? You have dynamic data masking, right? You have data discovery classification. You have a query performance insight. You will have automatic tuning. No need to call any SQL DB tuning expert or consultant. Microsoft Azure having machine learning enabled intelligent service called automatic tuning. Automatically it will tune your database. It's an intelligent built-in service. Automatically it will tune your database. It will create the indexes. It will drop the indexes. It will force the plan. Everything it will be taken care by Microsoft Azure. It's a free integrated services. Clear, everybody? And every resource group having this logical SQL server. This is your logical SQL server. Visible? And here you can also create more database in the same SQL server as well. Here you will add your more SQL databases. You can also configure your backup, your failover, disaster recovery, everything you can configure from here. See? Retention backup, available backups, you can restore, see, from here. And every Azure SQL database having transparent data encryption, it will automatically encrypt your all the database, backup, log, everything automatically. And managed by Microsoft. Keys are managed by Microsoft. It will automatically generate the keys and encrypt your all the database and everything. Make sense? Everybody? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Very nice. And all right, thank you so much, everybody. And now I want everybody to. We have hands-on lab, but I don't know. I think there was a issue in the receiving email about the promo code from our ZaranTech support team, to your spokesperson, your learning team. But I'm sharing this hands-on lab with you in chat window. This is a hands-on lab. So you keep this hands-on lab with you. After we complete our session today, I will give you time to implement your lab if you successfully redeem your Azure promo code. But at least you open this hands-on lab today. Check this step-by-step document, refer this hands-on lab and check everything looks good or not. Check it, okay? Anybody interested in PostgreSQL or MySQL? I have lab for them also. Two labs I'm sharing. Please at least take 5 minutes time. Refer this hands-on lab. And then try to answer these 3 questions. Okay. Okay, so hope everybody is referring the hands-on lab guide, and I will also provide you some learning path. Okay, I'm also getting answers. Very good. Sudhakar, Vasu, Gautam, Gavali, Yogesh. Fantastic. Everybody's trying to answer the questions. Good.
Hi, this is Sudhakar. Actually, I have one query about blob storage.
Yeah.
Actually, in the blob storage, I mean, in earlier days, it is using Azure like a storage Gen 1 also, right? What is the difference between Gen 1 and Gen 2?
See, actually, in Microsoft Azure, storage is a very, very, I can say, older service. Where Microsoft Azure came, no? in 2008-9. At that time, this service was there. So initially, when there was a portal called ESM portal, if you remember. So ESM portal was Azure Service Management Portal. So Azure Service Management Portal was having older Azure Storage Account Service, which is having very limited, restricted cloud capabilities or cloud characteristics, I can say, right? So version 1 was not having all the managed services feature which is available in standard general purpose version 2 storage account. Like there was no access tab facility. There was also difficulties in access control, access policies, right? So there are so many pairs policies or managed services like lifecycle management that comes in version 2 actually. So both are standard version 1 and version 2, both comes into standard storage only. But slowly what they did, when they upgraded the Azure storage service, Microsoft slowly pushes their customer to upgrade from version 1 to version 2. And version 1 to version 2 storage account upgradation is also free. And right now also upgradation is supported. That means there is, so those who are classic customer, those who are old customer of I can say Microsoft, they still uses version 1. Then Microsoft slowly what they did, they help every customer to migrate free or upgrade free. And then slowly Microsoft discarded that version 1 service, which is having little less managed features available. Make sense?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So I can say it's an upgraded service, nothing difference, much. It is not much difference. It is having latest Azure storage feature compared to version 1.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And it is in the ESM portal. ESM portal means Azure Service Management Portal. It was not Azure Resource Management Portal. Resource Management Portal is a different and Service Management Portal is the older one actually. In version 2, you have more scalability, more redundancy, that all features are available. That was not there in the first version actually. Okay, so everybody. Yeah, everybody. Hope you are referring this hands-on lab which I share in the chat window. Anybody successfully redeem the promo code in our class? Anybody? Anybody who successfully redeemed the Azure promo code and got Azure subscription, sponsorship subscription? Anybody redeem?
But did they share the promo code? We
Yeah,
didn't
No,
receive any
actually,
promo.
promo
ZaranTech
code
support
still
team
we are
already-
waiting for that.
No, we are waiting for promo codes.
Yeah.
No, what? ZaranTech support team is there. I think they confirm in the chat window. They already share the promo code with your support team or maybe Spock or I don't know.
Yeah, but initial
Yeah.
discussion they mentioned, right? It is not received, Sharani.
An email has been forwarded. See, I think they forwarded this email. See this message. See this message.
Okay.
See this message. This is a message today morning before 1 hour, before 1.5 hour. Email has been forwarded with the promo code to all. Please check your inbox and spam folder. ZaranTech support team is there. Hello, Nitin. Check your email, everybody.
Yeah,
Spam also.
but personally, we didn't receive any mail, either in inbox or junk mail. Nothing.
I think your TCS email ID. Check your TCS email.
No, we are checking TCS only. They shared individually or like they shared with TCS Spock?
I don't know what is going on, but I'll escalate this.
But apart from like, so if they provide the promo code also, we can't access Azure portal, right? Using our personal email ID in TCS laptop.
Yeah, that we checked yesterday. Your TCS laptops are restricted. So I suggested everybody
Yeah.
to use open internet connectivity, talk to your IT team, escalate, create ticket, whatever. But we want this for hands-on lab. Otherwise, you cannot do any hands-on labs. That will be a
Go-
that will
Yeah,
be
got
a
it. Like,
your loss actually. Yeah.
yeah,
We need
because with
Azure because see, we are learning Azure, we are learning cloud. We are learning cloud. That means internet, and without internet, we are handicapped. It's a simple thing.
because
When we
without
are
fixing
learning
that
cloud,
issue, if you
yeah.
redeem the code, also the 30 days period will be over, right? Like, so
Yeah, so
we will lose.
but honestly, for DP 203 course, Sudhakar sir and Gautam sir, we need a hands-on lab. You know, without hands-on lab, that course will not help you. So honestly, I will recommend you uh, you resolve this issue. You know, you should have access of Azure portal and everything, open internet connectivity for DP 203 course, data engineering course, because that course is totally dependent on hands-on.
Yeah.
70% that
Yeah.
course is on hands-on only, sir.
Yeah, agree with you. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, without
Otherwise, we are
labs,
handicapped. Yeah,
yeah,
without lab,
without
we are
hands-on,
handicapped.
it is very tough, I mean, to understand
Very,
the things.
yeah, we are handicapped, sir, honestly. So difficult. And I don't know, this ZaranTech support team is sharing this, but I will let me call Nitin. Give me a minute, sir. Give me a minute. But right now, Gautam, Sudhakar, everybody, you have any personal computer and open internet to redeem the promo code? Or you're using TCS laptops only, sir?
I actually have a personal one. I mean, personal laptop I have. Even I have personal account also.
Acha,
I mean,
okay.
pay as you go.
Okay, but PSG account also you have. Very
Yeah.
good. Fantastic. Okay, don't worry. I talked to our background team. They will send all the emails to all the participants as soon as possible. I think they are coordinating with Sharon.
Yeah, the first hurdle is like so everyone should access Azure from TCS laptop. Then only better to redeem the code. Otherwise, if you redeem the code today and you are able to access your laptop after 3 days or 4 days, you are going to lose these days out of 30. Because the promo code will valid only for 30 days lab
Yeah,
session.
after redemption, yeah. When you redeem, for example, you redeem today, that will
Yeah.
be accessible up to 26 July. Yeah. So, but we have to redeem it to do labs. We need Azure subscription to do labs.
But got it. But if you want to do the lab, then TCS should allow, right?
Yeah.
So first we need to fix that issue.
Yeah, that issue. Otherwise, personal computer, that is also another option that you can go through. Personal computer with open internet connectivity, with your mobile data or maybe home Wi-Fi or any open internet connectivity without any proxy firewall, without any restrictions. That is recommended.
Yes. I mean, what's the difference between the sponsorship account and the free Azure student account? Because
Free
in both
Azure,
the cases,
free
because
trial.
in both the cases we are getting $100 as credit.
No, both cases you will not get $100. In a free trial account, you will get $200 credit. But Azure free trial account is actually for the fundamental to associate level courses, which is ideal, because it is having restrictions. But if you activate the Azure free trial, you will get $200 of credit for 30 days, and for next 12 months you will get some limited services like this. So these are the services which you can use with restrictions for 12 months actually, right?
Mhm.
So initial
Yes.
first month you will get $200 credit. This is Azure free trial. But the subscription which we provided from Microsoft, that is Azure promo code. And that Azure promo code, that means Azure sponsorship subscription. So Azure sponsorship subscriptions will help you to learn your advanced to expert level certification courses and hands-on lab, right? Which is having little more quota and uses restrictions, means which is having a little free in the restrictions compared to other subscriptions.
You mean in sponsorship account we are getting more services?
No, services you will get everywhere, but the quota limitations, limitation means
Yes.
subscription limitations in terms of not in the number of services terms, but subscription limitations, region limitations, quota limitations. That is little bit easy there actually.
Even
Yes, I got it.
credit
Thank
card
you.
details we need to give. I mean, in the
In a free
free
trial,
one, that is also important.
in a free trial, always Microsoft or any other cloud provider will ask for your personal authentication detail using credit card. Okay, who you are, So for personal
No,
authentication,
but in case of student, they are not asking for the debit card or credit card.
student means you should be studying some university. You should have a university email ID or college email ID. That is a different thing. Student account is a different thing. That is, I think, not applicable to TCS employees. That is for university graduate or postgraduate student, which should have a university email ID and everything, right? Let us talk about fundamentals of non-relational data in Azure. Two main services I'm going to cover in this module. One of these service, which I covered yesterday, that is Microsoft Azure Storage. Now, Azure Storage, specifically Azure Blob Storage, is a service that will enable you to store massive amount of unstructured data. So you can store blobs, binary large object data in this container, in blob container, in the cloud. So container actually provide you a convenient way of grouping your related blobs together. And you can actually organize these blobs in a hierarchy of your folders, subfolders, similarly like you have files or file system on the disk. And then you can control, you can read and write blobs inside container at the container level. Now, every Azure Blob Storage is supporting 3 different types of blob. First one is a blob. Second one is a page blob. Third one is append blobs. Now this blob is handled as a set of blocks, and each block can vary in size. Each block can be vary in size up to 100 MB. So blob can contain up to 50,000 blocks. That means it will give you maximum size over 4.7 TB. And block is the smallest amount of data that can be read or written as an individual unit. So when you are storing the data in the blob, you will have a block like this: 1 block, 2 block, 3 block, 4 block, 5 block, 7 block, like that 50,000 block you can have. And each block is the smallest unit, I can say, right, by which you can perform read and write operations, or you can upload and download. It's the smallest amount of data that can be read or written in the individual unit. So if you go to your Microsoft Azure portal and you check any storage account, let's say I have very simple storage account, for example, and when I click on the container, and if you check any container, right, like this, for example, when you upload something here, you can browse anything, for example. Now, when you click here you can actually select your type, which I'm talking about. So if you have a blob, that means you can select a size of your each block. You can select a size of your each block from 64 KB to 100 MB maximum. And 100 MB, 100 MB, 100 MB like that, you can have a 50,000 blocks. That can give you a size of 4.7 TB in this block storage. Make sense, everybody? Now, page block are for virtual hard disk of your VM. Your virtual machine, when you create, like yesterday I showed you virtual machine, if you remember. You have a C drive, that is your operating system disk. You have a D drive, which is your temporary disk. Or you can attach data disk, right? These are all your page blocks. So page block can be up to maximum 8 TB in size, and every page is a fixed 512 bytes. Fixed size 512 bytes pages. So this is actually a page blob. It is organized as a collection of fixed size of 512 byte pages, and page blob is optimized to support random read and write operations. You can actually fetch and store your data for a single page if necessary. You know, page blob can hold up to 8 TB of data. And another one is append blob. Another one is a append blobs. Append blob is a blob which is optimized to support append operations. That means you can add blocks into your existing blob, like log files. You're adding entries into log files every day, like that. So you're updating or deleting your existing blocks, you know. Now each block can vary in size up to 4 MB. And maximum size in append blob, what could be your maximum size? 195 GB. 195 GB. Yesterday I covered one more concept in my AZ900 course. 3 different storage tier, hot, cool, and archive. And I also teach you yesterday life cycle management, if you remember. Yes or no?
Yes.
So can you give me idea about hot, cool, and archive storage? Can you summarize it? Any one of you can summarize it?
Yeah.
Hot, cool, archive.
Yeah, sure. Actually, hot is for latest data. I mean, only maintaining for the past 30 months data. And if you want to retrieve the data in very thorough manner, then we can use hot. Cool, we are maintaining like a 90 days data. And archival, we are maintaining like a 365 days data, like that.
Okay, very good. Anybody else? So hot access tier is actually default, right? And you can use this tier to, for your blobs that are accessed frequently. Frequently you want to access the data, you can go for hot tier. Cool means you are accessing data less frequently. You want to just store it. So storage cost of cool tier is cheaper than hot, but transaction cost is higher. And archive is completely offline. For a long time, long duration, you want to just store the data, and you can tolerate several hours of latency as well. You can go for that. Right?
That's good. So get the archive, how many days it will store?
Archive you can
days
store up to total size of your storage capability. Generally is a 16 TB. Now, very interesting topic I'm going to cover, Azure Data Lake Storage Generation 2. Azure Data Lake Storage Generation 2, as I told you, it is a hierarchical namespace. But Azure Data Lake Storage Generation 2, you can actually create on top of your storage account only. When you click on the storage account only, when you are creating the storage account like this in any of this region, any of this resource group, let's say, and you provide some storage account name also. Let's say this is my TCS TCS resource group and TCS Azure Data Lake Storage 1, for example. Okay. So when you click on the advanced blade, here there is an option to enable checkbox for data lake storage. So if you tick this and you deploy the storage account, that means you are deploying Azure Data Lake Storage Generation 2 hierarchical namespace. Yes or no? So Azure Data Lake Storage Generation 2 is a newer version of older version of Data Lake that is integrated into Azure Storage, and it is enabling you to take advantage of scalability of the blob storage and cost control of the storage tiers as well. And you can combine with the hierarchical file system capabilities and compatibilities with major analytic systems of Azure Data Lake Store. Correct? So you have system like Azure actually inside Apache Hadoop clusters. You have Azure Databricks, you have Azure Synapse Analytics. They can all mount this distributed file system. Listen to me very carefully. They can all mount this distributed file system hosted in Azure Data Lake Storage Generation 2. And they can use this Azure Data Lake Storage Generation 2 to process huge volume of data for big data analytics. Make sense? So you can maintain your all the data into this container, directory, subdirectory, subdirectory, file like this. And every individual directory, subdirectory level, you can actually perform ACLs, access configuration list, and POSIX permissions. You can apply access management permissions every directory, subdirectory level among your data engineering team. Make sense? Hello?
Yeah.
That is the beauty of this Azure Data Lake Storage Generation 2. Another very interesting Azure file share. Yesterday I showed you this Azure file share. You can map as a network drive. It is an assembly protocol based service. And if you go for a premium file share, you have a network file system, protocol enable. This is Azure file share that we covered yesterday. Azure table storage I covered yesterday. It's a NoSQL distributed table. It's a schema free. It supports entity group transactions. You have to define partition key and row key. And every combination of partition key, row key must be a unique record. It's a distributed NoSQL table. 255 column entities you can have. Unlimited number of row you can store. You can store structured data in a NoSQL distributed table, schema free. And all the entities are timestamped. Make sense, everybody? Yesterday I covered this. And I have a lab for you. That also I will share in chat window. I'm sharing this step-by-step hands-on lab guide for Azure storage. Just go through quickly. Please go through this lab instructions. And after that, I will cover. After that, I will cover Azure Cosmos DP, which is also a very powerful service. And then parallelly, I want also you to have a look in this knowledge check question answer as well.
One question from blob storage. Actually, in the blob storage, we are not enable name hierarchy, right? That is the only difference between Gen 2 and blob storage.
Yes.
Yeah, but
Blob
in that
storage,
scenario,
blob storage is a flat namespace. It is not hierarchical namespace. It's a flat. So it is not appropriate for big data processing. It does not support gigabytes of throughput. It does not support parallel read write. You know that we need for big data processing. For example, we are having some MPP architecture. We are having some Azure HDN set cluster. We are running some Synapse Analytics workload, say Apache Spark pool or SQL dedicated SQL pool or serverless SQL pool or Azure Databricks or anything. Blob storage is not appropriate because it does not support parallel read-write operation. So it is not for big data processing at all. Blob storage is ideal for your application object storage actually, or for your database backup, restore, or multimedia content. You want to store unstructured data. That is for blob storage.
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Okay, so I received answers. Very good. Answer of the question number 1 is partition की row key. Answer of question number 2 is upgrade account to hierarchical namespace. Right from your normal blob storage container. And answer of question number 3 is Azure files. Network file share, cloud-based network file share is Azure files. Clear? Okay. Take your time, 5-10 minutes. Refer your hands-on lab which I sent you in the chat window. Explore Azure Storage. It's a hands-on lab. Refer it. And after 5-10 minutes, we will jump into our next lesson of this module. Cosmos DB, which is very powerful service. So let me know once everybody is ready for Azure Cosmos DB. I'm waiting for everybody. Okay, no problem. Take your time. So hope everybody is referring this hands-on lab. And when you have your personal computer, open internet, everything, you can practice all the hands-on labs in your Azure account.
Actually, this Azure file share for the like Linux files, SMB protocol related file share also it will work, right?
Yes. Linux, Mac OS, and Windows, sir. All the 3 operating system, definitely it will work. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a network file share. Yeah. You can map that in the Linux also. And you can map that in the Mac OS laptops also, or machines also.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. File share. And if you create premium performance tier file share, you will get NFS protocol, network file system protocol. Premium file share service, which is expensive compared to standard file share. Any question, everybody? Any question? Questions are always invited. Vasudha, Vasu, Tabassum, Tulsikesh, Radha, Payal, Pavani, Mayuk, Krutika, anybody? Kaushik, Ajal, Kadimi. Hope you're enjoying. Isha, Gautam, Yogesh, Depasis. Any questions? Any doubt? Anything you want to ask? Whatever I'm covering, whatever I'm demonstrating, whatever I'm discussing, explaining, everything is good. Any feedback? Any input, suggestions, query, questions? Okay, so hope everybody is referring. Labs. Any question, anything, let me know, please. All right, I think participants are ready for Azure Cosmos DB. Let us discuss this fantastic service.
Okay.
And every data engineer should learn this service. That is what I recommend. So this service is Azure Cosmos DB. And Azure Cosmos DB service is a fastest growing service of Microsoft Azure Cloud, and which is loved by cloud solution architect community, data engineering, data architect communities. Everybody love this service because of its cloud characteristics, because of its cloud capabilities, I guess. So generally what happened, I covered in my previous slides, relational database are storing data in the relational table. But sometimes what happened, your structure actually imposed by this model can be too rigid, and often it is leading to poor performance unless you spend some time implementing some detailed turning and everything, tuning and everything. But other model, which I cover in my previous slide, there is NoSQL database, and this model store data in other structures like document, graph, key value store, column family store, like that. So Azure Cosmos DB is a service which is supporting multiple application programming interface, multiple API. It supports actually 5 API, I can say. 6 API, total 6 API. Recently they added 6 one. 2 API for document database, one for graph, one for column family, one for key value, and one more which is added, which is PostgreSQL. PostgreSQL. That is also available in Azure Cosmos DB. So Azure Cosmos DB account, when you want to create, you have to select any of these API, and which will help our data engineer, our developer to use this programming semantic of many common kind of data store to which to work with the data in a Cosmos DB. So our developer can use Cosmos DB to store and query data using API, which they are already familiar. So Cosmos DB also taken care of your indexing and partitioning. Cosmos DB uses indexes and partitioning to provide you fast read and write performance, and that can scale to massive volume of data. You can enable multi-region write, you can add Azure region of your choice to your Cosmos DB account. So let me explain you this. When you go to your Microsoft Azure portal and when you create a new resource like this in the database, and you are creating Azure Cosmos DB account. So when you create this Azure Cosmos DB account, it will ask you to select your API. What do you want? You want Microsoft Document DB, which is storing JSON documents, JSON data. Then you select this. If you want PostgreSQL RDBMS, fully managed relational database service for PostgreSQL, you select this. You want another document DB called MongoDB, you select this. You want columnar storage, which is called Apache Cassandra API, you select this. You want table storage, NoSQL table storage, you select table API in Cosmos DB. You want graph database, like edges and vertices. Then you select Apache Tinkerpop project, Apache Gremlin Graph API, Gremlin Graph database. So any of this fully managed NoSQL or relational database service you can select, which is having high scalability, high performance, and high throughput. And it has many other characteristics that also I'm going to explain you. Clear, everybody? Let's say I want Microsoft Document DB. I want to create TCS resource group. And I want to create account TCS Cosmos account 1. Whatever unique name, globally unique name you have to provide. Select your region. Select your region, East Asia. Now, when you create the account, either you can provision the throughput manually, because Cosmos DB account having throughput, it requests unit per second, request units per seconds to perform read write operations. Read and write operations. Make sense, everybody? Hello. So either
Yes.
you want to provision throughput manually to perform the read write operation, or you want to go with the serverless option that Microsoft will take care of everything. Compute, indexing, partitioning, scalability, elasticity, distributions, everything taken care of by Azure. That is serverless option is also there. Let's say I want to provision manually, for example, no problem. Let me review and create this Azure Cosmos DB account. Now, when I review this Azure Cosmos DB account and I create the Cosmos DB account, right now that account is in East Asia region, Hong Kong data center. So all my read and write operations are happening in Hong Kong data center only. Make sense, everybody? So this Azure Cosmos DB is a highly scalable database management system. It is not like database engine. It is like cloud service. It is automatically allocating the space in your container for your partitions. You know, it will also do partitioning, indexing, everything taken care by. It will create, maintain automatically. Cosmos DB is actually very foundational level service in Azure. Right? Because Microsoft was also internally using this particular service before in a mission critical application for global scalability like Skype, Xbox, Microsoft 365, Azure, many other services is using Cosmos DB because it is highly suitable for many different scenario like IoT and telematic scenario, you know, or any retail or marketing kind of applications, gaming applications, web or mobile applications. Any different modern cloud applications you can use Azure Cosmos DB. Correct, no?
Yeah, one question, like, so when you say like that capability, serverless and the throughput, right?
Ah.
So when we go with the serverless, like, so everything automatically Microsoft team will take care, right?
Yeah,
So the license.
scalability of the provisioning throughput will be taken care by Azure, and you are only gonna pay for what amount of RU you consumed and what compute resources which you consumed. You are only gonna pay. It's a true pay as you go model actually.
Okay, if it is manual, then without serverless, then so how they are going to?
You have to provision the throughput that I'll show you. You have to manually provision the request unit per second.
Okay, got it.
Manually.
So every
And,
it's like every day we need to change, or like
no,
only
not
one?
every day. No, not every day. It is like you are creating a VM. Then you select the VM size. So every day you should not select the VM size. When you deploy this, you select the VM size. And then you can manually you want to scale up, right? Like that, request unit also you can manually provision. And if you need more throughput, you increase the throughput. If you need a less throughput, you decrease the RU per second. Okay. And request unit is a combination of all these things. To perform all database operations, it consumes variable number of RU. To perform all database operations. Make sense?
Mhm.
And you are only gonna pay for what amount of RU you consume. You are paying on top of it, like that. Now clear?
Yep.
And when you create this Azure Cosmos DB account,
pricing model is it change? I mean, based on these options, or pricing model is same? Both
I will show
custom.
you. Yeah, I will show you. Yesterday I shared one Azure pricing calculator, if you remember.
Yeah.
So in that, what happened? If you are, for example, selecting Azure Cosmos DB, okay? So in Azure Cosmos DB, whenever you are selecting any API, let's say I'm selecting Microsoft's document DB, Microsoft NoSQL API, that is Microsoft document DB, right? I want this in the, for example, South India region, right? So what do you want? You want standard manually you want to provision the throughput? Yes, I want to manually provision the throughput. Then accordingly, costing will be based on your RUs per second into your number of hours. Make sense? So for RU, per 100 RU per second, you're gonna pay for 66 paisa, Indian paisa. Like that.
Okay.
Or if you go for a serverless option will comes with what amount of what millions of RU you use, you're gonna pay 20 rupees per 1 million RU. Like that. So for example, I have 20 or 200 or 2000 million RUs I'm consuming for read write operations and all the for database operations. So you're gonna pay this. It is serverless.
But if it is manual, then how we are going to calculate the how many RUs we will get per
For
day,
that
or
you
like
have
per
to do, for that you have to go and collect all the Azure Cosmos DB diagnostics logs and metrics and everything, and then you have to write some Pusto queries, equivalent on top of log analytics. It will give you detailed RU statistics. You know how
No.
they consumed actually. I'll show you here. So So here I will show you that part. Now, my Azure Cosmos DB is actually having unique URI, Cosmos DB URI, unique broker. All read-write operations are happening. The beauty of this Azure Cosmos DB is what you can geo-replicate. Across the globe, you can globally replicate your data in Azure Cosmos DB like this, like this, like this. And you will add many read regions across the world. Turnkey global replication. This is called turnkey global replication within a few clicks without changing your data or applications or anything. Geo replication. Clear? Global replication.
But again, it will be cost based, right? So if you increase the number of, then.
And you can go to Data Explorer menu to create your database and container inside your Cosmos DB. Because inside Azure Cosmos DB account, you should create database. Inside a database, you should have a container. And inside that container, you will have your JSON documents items, your items. Make sense? Yes or no? So from here, you can create the container. Let's say I'm creating temp DB. And I want to manually provision the throughput. You can manually provision the throughput from here. Accordingly, your costing will be applicable to you. Or you want to define minimum and maximum RU. Minimum and maximum RU. RU per second. And you want auto scaling between this up to maximum RU. That option is also available. Auto scaling also available.
So if you select manual and give the incorrect RUs per second, then what will happen?
If you are giving manual, then when you are performing read operations, you can only consume up to 400 RU maximum in any operation. And your maximum will have your RU or data read-write operations data are more than this. Then you will have to wait and you will have a more latency compared to the other auto scale pricing model. So it is like throughput. So 1 RU, that means 10 KB data you are reading or 10 KB data you are writing. Yeah, so for 10 KB, it is 1 RU like that. Makes sense? So it will restrict your read-write operations. If you provision manually, if you have a less number of RU, it will restrict your read-write operations latency. It will restrict your throughput. It will restrict your network bandwidth for performing these database operations.
So only performance will decrease, right? If you give the wrong RUs, like suppose the range I gave 1 to 100.
No, see, there is nothing wrong RU. There is a limited RU means.
No, the limited RU, like if I give the range.
Less or more RU, yeah.
Yeah, if I give range 1 to 100, suppose I received more than 100.
No, we lost you. We lost you. Like this, say 400 RU, then 4,000 RU, then 40,000 RU, 4 lakh RU, 40 lakhs RU, 4 crore RU, 40 crore RU. Like that, you can increase this RU as per your requirement manually. Manually, you have to do this. Hello.
Yeah,
I think we lost. I think we lost you completely. Who is this?
Am I audible?
Hello.
Yeah, Gautam, you are audible. Now you are not audible. Could you please come again?
Am I audible right now?
Yeah, Gautam.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, my question is like, so when I give the range 1 to 100, but suppose if I receive more than 100 at that time, so only performance will decrease or like how?
Performance. No, performance will decrease. It's a database operation performance. Yes, you are right.
Okay.
Yeah. So in manually, you have to actually guess maybe what RU per second you want. So accordingly, you are saving your costing also. You are preferring the budget option for this, because more number of RUs you are consuming, you are gonna pay more, and it is expensive actually. So you are going to limit your costing also, budget costing, your operational expenditure. So that is why every cloud provider are providing this facility to cut short your budget, to save your budget, or to get economical solution of the services. So this is economical option, most economical option. And you manually provisioning the RU, that means you are only gonna pay for that hourly or daily or monthly, whatever accordingly your uses. Make sense? Correct, no?
We have auto scale option also, right?
Auto scale option can go up to 4,000 RU. So depend on the database operations, they can scale out your RU, and maximum they will go from 400 to 4,000 RU, whatever you specify.
Okay.
So sometimes in a daily, only for example, few operations, you are actually using 1,000 or 2,000 or 4,000 RU. You are only gonna pay for that. Not all the time, not 24/7 like that.
Okay. But in this scenario, like a better we go for auto scale, right?
Yeah, definitely. And then see, now inside this, I am creating a container. I have a partition key, and I am creating this database and container. Okay. Now, inside this Azure Cosmos DB account, I have temporary DB. Inside temporary DB, I will have a container. And inside container, I will upload my JSON document just to demonstrate. Okay. So here you see, it will take a couple of minutes to create your database and container. Now it is here. Database container, and you will have your all items. Right now, I don't have any items here. Just to demonstrate, let's say, for example, I'm uploading some JSON document because it's a document database. So 2 items I added here in this Azure Cosmos DB with ID number 1 and ID number 2. And this is your JSON document visible, which is having name, parent name, another document having another schema, like I cover in my previous module. It has email also, address also, right? City, street, everything, parent name, email, everything. And then you can also perform SQL query as well. You can execute the SQL query here. You will get that all the documents which you have, and you will get every query statistics. You consume 2.28 RU per second for this query. Clear? And what document size which you retrieved, how many document count you retrieved, right? What RU you consume, why you are gonna pay for this, what you are gonna pay for this. Every query statistics is transparent from Microsoft, right? And if you are having global replication, costing will be applicable accordingly. But if you have users across the globe, if you have global replication, then user will get the copy from the nearest Cosmos DB data. And Microsoft Azure Cosmos DB guarantee single digit millisecond latency, even it is globally distributed for all the read and write operations, guarantee single digit millisecond latency. And all the read write operations will happen to this broker. This is your main broker. And every Cosmos DB account having primary key, secondary key, and connection strings. All connection strings and primary key, secondary key available, backup, restore, and everything is integrated. And when you enable geo redundancy, Microsoft guarantee 99.999% of availability, even when disaster strikes. Even when disaster strikes.
But
Highly
availability is fine. But what about latency? Latency also it should be same or?
No, your voice is cracking, sir.
I mean, availability is fine, but latency is like perform same thing, or do you have any impact on latency?
No, your voice is completely cracking, sir. I cannot understand your question. It's a breaking voice.
No, what he's asking, like availability is fine, so he's asking about the latency.
Microsoft guarantees single digit millisecond latency, single digit, less than 10 millisecond latency for read and write operations. Single digit millisecond latency.
For any region.
Yeah. So region is not your job. You are not performing query to specific region. You are only performing query to your broker URL. Internally, Microsoft is actually taking care of that global application. So you never know you are getting data from Singapore or Pune or Mumbai or Chennai or Hong Kong or where. No.
Replication is fine, but if in case like India, like a data center, there is a possibility of downtime. In the
Yes.
downtime, for example, I triggered query. In that scenario, like it will be triggered in another region, for example, in Australia region. At that time, latency should be the same, right?
No,
Less
no,
than
no,
10
cracking,
seconds.
cracking, completely cracking. Sudhakar,
No,
we
his
lost you
question. No, his
completely.
question.
Your audio is
His
completely cracking with some blur
It's
audio
okay to.
signals are coming. The
Yes,
noise
okay
is
to.
coming
Yes,
from the
okay to.
microphone.
Am I audible?
Hello.
Yes, okay to. So his question is,
Yeah.
am I audible?
Wait, sir. I have to actually check my plugin of my speaker. Hello.
Yes.
Yeah,
we are
yeah,
able-
yeah, yeah. Tell
Yes, Sudhakar, now you go ahead.
Sudhakar, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I mean, if in case, like for example, I deployed Cosmos DB in India data center, Mumbai.
Correct.
But Mumbai data center server is down.
So they will actually get you data from the another region where you have global application.
Another region in Asia only, you mean?
Yes, nearest one.
Nearest
Okay.
one.
Yeah, performance based. It is based on the number of hops, less number of hops. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
in that case, the
Depends.
latency will be same.
Yes. Because latency, Microsoft guarantee whether you are performing any read-write operations to this broker, from which region you are getting the data that Microsoft take it internally.
Okay.
Correct, no? So this is the beauty of this service. That is why this is very powerful and fastest growing hosted managed cloud service, which is highly scalable, highly available. It has a geo redundancy, and Microsoft automatically replicate all your data to the different region pair, and it providing you this availability and this redundancy. Clear?
Yeah, clear. Thank you.
Fantastic. So these 5 APIs are available in Cosmos DB. So this one is Microsoft's document DB, NoSQL, JSON document, which I show you, which I demonstrated by querying, by executing that query on that two JSON documents and everything. Another very popular MongoDB. There is also many application developers and everybody using MongoDB, and it store all the data in JSON format. It's compatible with MongoDB API. It's a very popular open source. I think you heard MongoDB, right? Everybody heard MongoDB, right? And then we have distributed NoSQL table. We have Cassandra. Apache Cassandra is also very popular API, which is columnar storage. And this is a very popular open source column family database for reporting kind of scenario. People using Cassandra API. Gremlin Graph database is a new graph database, which is by Apache Gremlin Graph API. So which is actually used by some social media kind of applications or some recommendations kind of applications, right? They use this graph traversal data and graph queries, how that nodes are related with each other, what is the relationship or edges between this node, that actually is a graph database, and that store actually all the data in a GraphSN format. Which format? GraphSN format. So Cassandra, Mongo, Table, Gremlin, these are all different Cosmos DB APIs are available, and that actually will help you to implement polyglot persistence kind of modern cloud applications. That I'll show you. This very good technical community architect. This article I want to share with you just for your reference. Those who are architecting point of view, those who are architect. So it is in the cloud, web, mobile, big data, open source kind of revolution. Every modern cloud application need this actually. See, every modern cloud applications need key value pair also. Here options are available. You want a document store also for product catalog, shopping cart kind of applications. Here you have options. For user behavior, you need column family. You have options in Azure. You want some purchases, transaction database, RDBMS. You have these many options available. You want logs, object data, data lake, blob storage. You have these many options. Same application is talking to these all different disparate data stores and data services and storage services. Make sense? That is called polyglot persistence, and half of the requirement is fulfilling by Cosmos DP. So that is why this is loved by developer community or cloud solution architect community. They love, this Azure Cosmos DB because of its many characteristics, and it is a hosted managed service. That is what it is called polyglot persistence. Makes sense? So, any question before we go for our hands-on lab of the Cosmos DB? And apart from the hands-on lab, we have this knowledge check questions also for everybody. This is the hands-on lab I'm sending you in chat window. And I want you to start implementing this hands-on lab one by one. Whenever you have access and your Azure subscription. So this is the change. This is the change actually. Earlier, that name was Core SQL API, but Microsoft recently in March month, they changed this to NoSQL API. The correct option is NoSQL API. Core SQL was older name of Cosmos DB document database, but they rename it. So there are UI changes, naming changes in Azure, and that is common, very common in Azure.
Okay, have you sent in chat box?
Yeah, I sent.
I don't have access for chat. I can't understand why.
Hands-on lab you want?
No. Actually, it's showing that in chat box I don't have access. It's showing I can write in chat also today.
Oh.
I think I have to register.
Yeah, I think you rejoin from the register Microsoft Teams ID. Maybe where you got the invitation in TCS email. So you please rejoin in the Microsoft Teams. That could be a Teams issue, your Microsoft Team issue.
Yeah, I am leaving from this meeting and I'll rejoin. Okay.
Please do that. Please do that. No problem. All right. Everybody requested to answer the questions and start working on your hands-on labs, which I share. So what is the answer of question number 1? Core SQL API, which is renamed by NoSQL API. Now, second question, Gremlin API. Right? Node and vertices and edges, graph, that is Gremlin. Third one, you have to enable multi-region write to add the regions where you have users.
Suketu, why not the option number 1 for the third question?
In which here you have seen, how can you enable globally distributed user to work with their own local replica of Cosmos DB? So if it is globally distributed users, if they want to copy from the local replica, means the local region from where they are. So when you create Cosmos DB account in each region where you have users, it is not possible. It is not like you create separate Azure Cosmos DB account in East Asia, another account in Southeast Asia, another account in East US. So how many account you will create?
Okay. It's account based.
Different account you should not create. No, you just have to go to this menu. And from here you globally replicate your data. It should not. You have to deploy 10 Cosmos DB account in 10 different regions. Make sense?
Okay. Yeah, got it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Fantastic. So, everybody, I share this hands-on labs. Please check it one by one. If you have Azure subscriptions and everything ready, you can practice it now, because in our sessions we included our hands-on lab timings also. Hands-on lab part is also included. You can just go through these labs. And this is actually prerequisite of DP 203. So that will definitely help in our upcoming course. Where is your subscription, Sudhakar?
Yeah, I mean, while creating the.
Oh no, concierge. No. Concierge means you select your subscription. Like I will show you. Wait. For example, I am creating Cosmos DB.
Okay.
From here. Okay. So in the lab instructions, what they want, you have to select your subscription. You select your subscription. So for example, I have my own subscription that is called MSDN platform. In your case, it is Azure sponsorship subscription. So that you have to select from this drop down. Otherwise, what you can do, just I'm sharing. What you have to do, you just open your mobile phone browser, open portal.azure.com, login, start the VM, and that public IP of your VM you type here in your TCS laptop, and then connect to this VM. And once you're connected to this VM, see, for this you should not have a Azure portal from TCS. You just have to copy your virtual machine public IP from your mobile browser. Okay,
Yeah,
and then that public IP you put it here in the remote desktop connection, and then you connect using username password. Once you are inside the remote VM, you are open to internet world, completely open internet world inside the VM, and then whatever you want to do for hands-on labs or everything, go for that.
Yeah, I think this will work. Can you give me any IP so that I will try now itself?
Yeah,
I'm able to connect.
I have to create a virtual machine for you. Give me a minute, sir. I will
Yeah.
create VM for you. No problem.
Yeah. Just to check if that works fine, then we will do that.
Yeah. TCS demo VM what? Okay. TCS demo VM and Windows operating system.
Mhm.
Quickly, I will create. Username password is demo user and demo @pass123. I'll share that. Don't worry. And networking, public IP. Yeah, public IP created. Everything is good. No auto shutdown. No monitoring. Simply review and create this VM. Windows Server 2019 data center VM. And this virtual machine having very high speed internet connectivity. So this VM you have to create inside your Azure portal and then go and then perform all the labs by following all the lab instructions like this.
Got it. Can you give me that computer link?
Yeah, I'm sharing that. Yeah.
3389 port yesterday request it is mentioned, right? 3389 as well. I don't think so. It will not open.
Oh, yesterday.
Just let me try.
Yeah.
Yesterday,
sure.
if you remember, I share this lab setup requirement and everything with you. Required to be enabled 3389.
Yeah,
This
got it.
information I shared yesterday.
Just I want to try through RDC.
Yeah. Please. Give me a minute. It is almost deployment is successful. And your VM will be up and running very soon. I will share the public IP of this VM. Username, password, you can, I'm typing in the chat window for you. Okay, username is demo user, password is this. So you can use this username and password which I'm sending you in the chat window. All right, sir. And this is your public IP. I'm sending you public IP also so that you can do MSTSC, right? Like this.
Yeah.
MSTSC. You can do like this. And you provide that username password like this. And you connect to your
but unfortunately, TCS blocked this as well. So we are not other. So we can't.
Blocker. TCS laptops are completely restricted. I think difficult to do labs there.
Yes.
till you sort out this. But at least ask them to open RDP or maybe you can use personal computers, personal laptop, personal PC, anything.
So you can stop that VM unnecessarily.
And once you are inside the VM, you're free. You're free bird.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So, module number 4. Where first of all, I will talk about modern data warehouse. See, modern data warehouse or modern data warehousing is actually generic term. It is actually describing the infrastructure and processes which is used to support large scale data analytics. Okay. So modern data warehousing solutions actually combining your traditional conventional data warehousing, which is used to support business intelligence and which typically involve copying data from transactional data store into the relational database with a schema that is optimized for querying and building multi-dimensional model. So with this technique, you can use for big data analytics in which large volume of data in a multiple format. They are all batch loaded or they are captured in real-time streams. And then we can store that all the data somewhere in the data lake from where our distributed processing engine like Apache Spark are actually used to process that particular data at scale. So in general, modern data warehouse having these 4, I can say component. This is component number 1, this is component number 2, 3, and 4. Number 1 is a data ingestion and processing. Data from one or more transactional data store or files, or it can be a real-time streams or any other sources will be loaded into data lake. Or you can load it in any relational data warehouse. So this load operation actually involving ETL, extract, transform, load, or ELT, extract, load, and transform. And after that, your data will be cleansed, will be filtered, will be restructured for analysis. So in ETL processes, your data is transformed before being loaded into your analytical store. Right? While in ELT process, what happened? Data will be copied to the store and then it will be transformed. Either way, means the resulting data structure is optimized for analytical query only. And this data processing is often performed by distributed systems that can process your high volume of data in parallel using multi-node clusters. And data ingestion actually include both batch processing of static data and real-time processing of streaming data. Now, let me talk about this analytical data store component. Data store for large scale analytics include relational data warehouses, or it can be file system based data lakes, or it can be hybrid architecture, that is combining feature of data warehouse and data lake. After that, our next component will come, which is analytical data models. Here, while our data analyst and our data scientist, they can work with this all data directly in analytical data store here. And it is very common to create one or more data model, that pre-aggregate your all the data to make it very easy to produce some report, dashboard, interactive visualizations. Directly you can query and generate. And these all data model are described as a cube. Actually, it is called cube, in which your numerical data values are aggregated across one or more dimensions. Last component is data visualizations. Data analyst always consumes this data from analytical model, and they will directly form analytical store to create your report, your dashboard, and other visualizations. And you can create the charts and reports and dashboards and everything in the technology like Power BI. Now, you have to understand, very little about the architecture of modern data warehousing solution. And definitely some of the distributed processing technology that can be used to handle your large volume of data. Now, how your data is ingested into the analytical data store from one or many sources actually. So on Microsoft Azure, data ingestion is implemented by creating this kind of pipelines. You can orchestrate this entire pipelines. You can orchestrate this entire ETL process, I can say. And you can actually run this pipeline in Synapse pipeline service, which is known as Azure Data Factory also. Previously, formerly it is known as a Data Factory. So you can actually use the same pipeline engine in Synapse pipeline if you want to manage all of the component of your data warehousing solution in a unified workspace. And pipeline contain what? Pipeline contain activities like this. So when you are extracting the data from disparate sources, you're loading the data somewhere in the data lake, then you are performing activities. Let's say you are inviting on-demand HD inside cluster to transform your data, or you use Azure Databricks by dispatching the third-party compute activity. Or even you can use code-free data flow, which is code-free transformation. You can use that also, which is there in Synapse pipelines. And then this is your sync data store. It can be your dedicated SQL pool or your data warehouse. So these all activities are operating on the data. And input data set, this one, input data set, this one, is actually providing you the source data. And the activities can be defined as a data flow that incrementally manipulate your data until your output data set is produced. And if your data factory pipeline or Synapse pipeline, which you're orchestrating, is extracting the data from variety of sources, the link service will actually create a connection string information of that disparate data stores. And for example, if you are dispatching any third-party compute activities, so for them also you have to create the link services. So that means your Synapse pipeline can also dispatch compute activity to outsider big data or distributed big data processing services like Azure HD Inside clusters or Databricks clusters or Azure Data Lake Analytics, right? You can dispatch compute activity for transformation as an activity in your pipeline. Make sense, everybody? Make sense? And you have two types of analytical data stores. Number one, which is very popular, an old data warehouse. Data warehouse is actually relational database in which your data is stored in the schema that is optimized for data analytics rather than transactional workloads. And commonly the data from the transactional store is denormalized into a schema in which your numerical values are stored in the central fact table, and then you can create a different dimension table. So using this fact table and dimension tables, you can actually store your all the transactional store data in a denormalized form in a data warehouse. you can actually create many different schema like star schema, snowflake schema. You know, these are very popular schema are available to create, to define that schema for your data warehouse, so that all the data from your transactional store will be denormalized into the schema in which your numerical values are stored in your star schema or snowflake schema. So this is data warehouse concept actually. Second concept, which is very popular nowadays, which is analytical data store. That is nothing but your data lake actually. See, data lake is actually what? It is actually file store. Right? And it is actually on distributed file system for high performance data access, because you need high performance data access in your big data processing. So you have technology like Spark, Hadoop. They are all often used to process your queries on the stored files, and it will return the data for reporting and analytics purpose. And these systems often apply schema on read. So when you are processing the data on data lake, you define schema on read on the fly. Make sense? To define your tabular schema or semi-structured data files or any point, you know, where the data is read for analysis purpose. So data lake is actually great for supporting mix of structure, semi-structure, or even unstructured data that you want to analyze. You can keep everything into in its native format. You can keep your data in its native format. Make sense in data lake? Yes or no? Everybody?
Yes.
Hello. Yeah. Now choose your analytical data store service accordingly. Number one is Azure Synapse Analytics that I'm going to cover in upcoming course. Synapse is a unified end-to-end solution for large-scale data analytics. It brings together all the technologies and capabilities. Means it has SQL pool capability also available. It has Apache Spark pool capability also available. It has Synapse Data Explorer also available. It has a data lake also integrated. It has Power BI also integrated. It has Azure Machine Learning also integrated. It has a Purview also integrated. It has Azure Data Factory also integrated. Everything together into same analytical workspace. That is called Azure Synapse Analytics Workspace. So, which will enable you to combine the data integrity and reliability of for a scalable, high performance SQL Server based relational data warehouse with the flexibility of the data lake and open source Apache Spark and everything. So you can either create the SQL script to run on SQL pool. You can also create notebook, and notebook you can attach to your Apache Spark pool, and you can run each and every code cell in the notebook. Right? Or you can have a built-in pipeline integration for Azure data ingestion and processing. That is your Azure Data Factory. That is called Azure Synapse Pipeline nowadays. So it is a single unified large-scale analytical solution on Microsoft Azure. So Synapse is a great choice when you want to create single unified analytics solution on Azure. Second, popular Azure Databricks. Azure Databricks is an Azure implementation of popular Databricks platform. And Databricks is a comprehensive data analytics solution which is built on Apache Spark, which is offering you native SQL capabilities as well as workload optimization Spark runtime for your data analytics and for data science together. It's an optimized version of Apache Spark actually, 50 times more optimized version. Databricks having cluster, you can manage all the clusters, you have workspace, you can manage all the users there. You can attach your cluster with the notebook, you can execute one by one all the notebook cell on top of your clusters. Right? And you can do data engineering also, you can do data science also on Azure Databricks. So if your company having existing expertise, people know, Spark, Python or Scala and R and everything, these programming languages and everything, they can start implementing this on Azure Databricks. It's a Azure implementation of Databricks on cloud. And you can call this Azure Databricks cluster as an activity in your Azure Data Factory or Synapse pipeline as well for transformation. And even you can also call on-demand Azure HD Insight cluster also as an activity to your Azure Data Factory or Synapse pipeline. And Azure HD Insight is nothing but your Azure service which is supporting multiple open source data analytic cluster like Hadoop cluster, Spark cluster, Kafka cluster, Storm cluster, HBase cluster. These all clusters you can create in Microsoft Azure infrastructure. That is called Azure HD Insight. And you can take benefit of this multiple open source platform. Let me show you by creating Synapse. Quickly, I will create Synapse Analytics. Yeah, this is my Synapse Analytics. And when you create this workspace, I have to create resource group. Okay. I have to provide resource group and Synapse manage resource group name also I'm providing here. Now this is my TCS Synapse workspace. TCS Synapse workspace. In which region you want? Let's say I want this in East Asia region, for example. Right? Now you must create Azure Data Lake Storage account for Synapse. Let's say this is my TCS ADLS Gen 2 for Synapse. So unique global name I have to provide for data lake. And let's say this is my TCS file system for Synapse. So when you create any Synapse Analytics, you have to either select existing data lake storage generation to account or you have to create the one. This Azure Data Lake Storage Generation to Synapse will use as a primary data lake storage generation to account. And you create the Synapse workspace by clicking on Create button. And once your Synapse workspace is ready, I will show you how you can launch your Synapse Studio. And just for your information, I'm sending you this hands-on lab also for your practice. Very good lab. Whenever you get time, you can go for this lab, no problem. Now, when you open your resource group, inside that resource group, you will get your Synapse workspace and Azure Data Lake Storage Generation to account. Deployment is going on. Sometimes in our low priority subscriptions, it will take little longer than expected, depend on the region. And here is your Synapse Analytics workspace is coming. See, this is your Synapse Analytics workspace. And every Synapse Analytics workspace having a SQL pool capability also, Apache Spark pool capability also, and you have Data Explorer pool also. And this is your primary Azure Data Lake Storage Generation to account, which is used by Synapse Analytics. This is in the provisioning state. It is in the East Asia region. This is your Synapse Studio open button. From here, you can open your fully integrated analytics solution in Synapse Studio. Synapse Studio, when you open, it will open in this separate tab, in the new separate browser tab. Make sense, everybody? Hello?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, fantastic. Now, when you deploy this successfully, I'll show you. Yeah.
So Sukrit, we say we have created this Synapse in East Asia, right? So now, if I want to change the, can I? I mean, after some time, can I change the location of it? Like
No. You have to
okay.
redeploy.
Okay.
You have to redeploy to change your location like this. But whatever the work you have done, like SQL script you have written, notebook which you have written, that all you can check in into Azure DevOps or GitHub. So you will not lose your work which you did inside the Synapse. Make sense? Now see,
Okay.
when you click on the open button, Synapse Studio will be open here. See. And the Synapse Studio, when you launch from here, it's a separate tab will be open. And here is your main menu hub is visible. You can manage all your SQL pool. Every Synapse having built-in serverless SQL pool available, built-in serverless. If you want to create dedicated SQL pool, means your data warehouse, you have to create from here. Here is your Apache Spark pool. From here, you can create your Apache Spark pool. From here, this button. And here is your data hub menu. You have always Azure Data Lake Storage Generation 2 primary. Azure Data Lake Storage Generation 2 account is already there here in the link. You can always open your Data Lake Storage Generation 2 in the Data Explorer here. See, visible? Right? Or you can also add other, you can connect to other external data and everything from here. And this is your workspace data. Your SQL data warehouse tables and everything will come here. Right now, I don't have any data dedicated SQL pool, so nothing is coming here. But in our upcoming courses, that we will check. And here is your main develop menu. Here you can create your SQL script. This is the property of your SQL script. You can connect to your particular dedicated SQL pool or built-in serverless SQL pool, and you can write your SQL script here that you want to run on which database. That all you can run from here. Or even you can run or you can create your notebook. Your notebook like this, you can add code cell. And this notebook you can attach to your Apache Spark pool to run on that. And look at this, how many languages are supported? You should know this many languages: Python Spark or Scala or C# .NET Spark or Spark SQL or Spark R. Any of these language, if you're familiar with, you can directly start working on this particular data using this notebook. By writing that particular code cell in this notebook, you can attach this notebook to the Apache Spark pool, and then you can start your data engineering.
Yeah, but I mean, notebook thing, it is part of Databricks also, right? I mean,
That notebook is a separate thing. This is Synapse notebook, and that is Databricks notebook. Both are separate, different product, different service.
yeah, but I mean, because they are introduced Synapse means going forward, they are planning Azure Data Factory and Azure Databricks. They are planning to.
Everything into same workspace they want. Yeah, definitely yes. Because see, let me give you a simple example. Databricks is an independent company. They have their own engine on Apache Spark. Okay. Now Databricks is popular. So what they did, they shake hand with the Azure. They shake hand with the AWS. They shake hand with the GCP, everybody. And they are providing these managed services here. It's a different ballgame. Now, Microsoft is also independent technology company. They are also having association with Apache Spark and Hortonworks and everything. Makes sense? Right? So they implemented their own Apache Spark tool in Synapse. And here they are offering their customer to use Microsoft's Apache Spark implementation on Synapse. Clear the story? Now,
Yeah.
now this is your integrated. And here you can actually create your Azure Data Factory pipeline, your Synapse pipeline like this. Clear? From the integrate, you can create or orchestrate your entire data engineering pipelines, ETL pipelines, ELTL pipelines here in Synapse. And then you can publish this into Synapse, and then you can trigger and everything from here you can manage. Here, everybody. And we have integrated monitoring. You can monitor all your Apache Spark pool, Apache Spark pool, your all the request, all your pipeline run, trigger run, that all you can monitor from integrated monitoring. Clear? And direct copy data tool also available. When you go to home page, when you go to ingest button, built-in copy data tool also available here. See? You just define your source from where you want to copy data, where is your destination, what are your settings, and then click. Bye. Everything will be taken care by copy data tool. It will load all the data from 90 plus data sources. 90 plus data sources it will load the data from. Clear? Yes or no? See? Azure, database, Amazon, lot of Oracle, SAP, Spark, Sybase, Amazon S3, and generic protocols, and HTTP, Cassandra, MongoDB, services, apps from everywhere. PayPal, SAP, ECC, Salesforce. That all you can copy data directly using copy data. Source, destination, everything you configure, and then you can just completely configure this entire copy data tool. Copy data tool is also there in Synapse. Visualization, Power BI integration is also there in the Synapse. Right? So this is your Synapse workspace, and here you have to implement that hands-on lab which I shared with you. And this journey we are going to continue in DP 203. So right now, I want to share all the learning path. Give me a minute. Give me a minute. Yeah, I'm updating this. I'm providing this modern data warehouse learning path. Can you please refresh this ZP Online Notepad, everybody, and check whether you got this all the learning path or not? Check everybody, and I will also provide you labs. Hands-on labs also I'm providing you there. Give me a minute. Give me a minute. Before we end our session today, I'm going to update my ZP Online Notepad. And if you have any questions, let me know. But I will strongly recommend everybody, please successfully redeem your promo code. Please talk to your TCS IT team to give you access of that RDP port and that open internet connectivity, Microsoft Azure portal and that all open internet connectivity to do all the hands-on labs. Otherwise, please manage your personal computer open internet using mobile data or maybe home Wi-Fi or anything like that. And please complete all this learning path of AZ 900 course and DP 900 course. That is strict prerequisite of our upcoming advanced course, which is DP 203. Clear? So now I will request everybody to please refresh your ZP Notepad and then check whether you got that all the labs and everything, learning path and everything you got or not. Check.
We can't access this notebook from our TCS laptop.
Oh, sorry. I forget. Oh, yeah. So, sorry, no worries. But it is updated my side. It is
Okay.
updated my side.
Yeah, I have verified in the personal PC. It is refreshed. I mean,
Fantastic, sir. Fantastic. It is there. Okay, so everybody can access. So if you have any questions, please let me know before we end our session today. And we are going to continue this last module of this course tomorrow, and then we are jumping into DP 203 course. But before that, please redeem your Azure promo code and everything successfully. If you have any difficulty, please reach out to ZaranTech tech support team. All right.
Yes.
And hope you enjoyed our today's session as well. Any question, any feedback, any input, any suggestion, any doubt, you are welcome. Hope you are enjoying my sessions, my demonstrations, my discussions, my explanations. I want open feedback from everybody,
Yes, it was good.
Thank you so much,
Yes, ma'am.
everybody.
Yeah,
Yes,
it was
Sukrit,
very
it was
good.
good. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Any suggestion, any input, any feedback? Thank you so much, everybody. See you all tomorrow. Have a great rest of the day. And please spend some time on learning path and labs, please. Okay, that will help in our upcoming upcoming course.
yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay, everybody.
Yes,
Bye bye,
Sukrit.
and we are meeting tomorrow, right? Tomorrow same time. Thank you.
Thank you, Sukrit.
Thank you.
Yeah, have a
Yeah,
nice
thank you,
Bye,
day.
Sukrit.
everybody.
Thank
Have
you.
a great day ahead.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. Bye.
Thank you for attending the session. I hope you all enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Also, feel free to ask your questions in the comment section below, and we will reply to them at the earliest.